Hello everyone, let's look at this rational function here. We want to find the derivative of this rational function, and because it's actually just a quotient of two polynomials, right? We are going to be using the quotient rule to differentiate this rational function. And so first, before we get started, we are going to just recall what the quotient rule is talking about. Okay, so usually um, I'll write it like this. That's the derivative of a quotient. A quotient is when you have something divided by the other stuff, right? And then what is the numerator? We can actually call the numerator the high function or the top function. So I just label that as capital H. And then what about the bottom function? The bottom function we can actually label as the low function. So I can actually use a L to denote that. And so what the quotient rule is saying is that we have a numerator and a denominator. And so the top part right here actually looks extremely similar to the product rule, except that in the middle there was instead of having a plus sign, we have a minus sign here. So let me write it down so you can see how similar it is to the product rule. Okay, so what we put here is that we are going to put down the derivative. Okay, the derivative of the top function, and then we do not really do anything to the bottom function, the low function, and then we are just going to copy it right here. Okay, and then minus. Okay, so that's the difference between this expression that I'm going to put down here compared to the product rule. And then for the second term, we are going to be putting down the high function first. Okay, so the high function doesn't change, right? We just copy. So we just copy whatever that you see in the numerator, and then we need to multiply it by the derivative of the low function. Okay, and then what do we get right here at the bottom? The bottom is what? The bottom is really just the low function square. Okay, so if you just compare this with the product rule again, it's almost the same except that the sign in the middle is plus instead of minus. And then there was extra bottom part right here, which is the low function, the bottom function square. And so that's what the product rule is saying. There's actually an easy way for you to memorize the product rule, which is let me put it in let me rewrite this in a slightly different way so that it will help us remember the quotient rule. So what we have is that we can actually write the L first, which is just write down the low function first, and then we are going to write dh, okay, which represents the derivative of the h, and then minus, and then we would be putting down the h, and then we'll put down the derivative of the low function, which is dl. Okay, so d stands for the derivative, and then dl means the derivative of the low function here, and then the bottom is just l squared. Okay, and then you may ask me, how do we use this to just memorize the quotient rule more easily? That looks more confusing, right? But you can actually just say it in a way that's easy for you to remember. You can actually say it as low d high minus high d low over low low. Okay, so that's how you memorize it. If you repeat it a few times, you actually will find it really easy to remember. Okay, so now actually let's get started on the problem. We were just talking about how to memorize the quotient rule. We haven't even touched the problem, right? So let's get started. Okay, so first we have as you can see here, the 4x minus 3 is the high function. The bottom function, the 3x plus 5 is the low function. So now we can apply the quotient rule. Okay, so let's do that. So we have f prime. So let's start putting down the numerator. Let's try what I just mentioned to you. So we're going to put low d high, right? Low d high first. Low means what? You just copy down the bottom function. So we have 3x plus 5. Okay, that's low. And then d high means what? You take the derivative of the top. because that's the high function. And then d high means what, we take the derivative of this function, which will give us what? What is the derivative of 4x minus 3? It's just the 4. Okay, so you multiply by 4. And then minus. Now it says what? High d low. So we copy down the high function here, which is 4x minus 3. And then d low means what? You take the derivative at the bottom and then you put it here. And then so you multiply the 4x minus 3 by the d low. The derivative of the bottom function is just the 3, so you put the 3 right here. Okay, and then that's how we get the numerator. And then now for the denominator, what do we get here? We are going to be getting what? Low, right? Low means what? Low squares. That means you are going to square the denominator here. So we get 3x plus 5, and then quantity squared. Okay, so that's quite simple to do, right? And then the rest is really just simplifying work, right? The calculus part is done. The rest is really just basic calculation. So let's continue to do that. We can distribute the 4 to the 3x and the 5, right? So we are going to be getting 12x plus 20. And then don't forget that there is a minus sign right here. That's why I put parentheses, because we need to distribute stuff. So make sure that you put parentheses, and then also make sure that you apply this minus sign to all the terms that you have here. So we are going to be getting negative 3 times the 4x, which will give us negative 12x. And then we have negative 3 times 3, which is positive 9. Okay. And then it's actually unnecessary to expand the bottom, so we can just leave it as a square. So we just leave that, just copy from the previous step. And then now we can combine like terms in the numerator, and then we will get our final answers, which would be, what is that? It just happens that the 12x and the negative 12x will cancel each other out, right? So you're just going to get 0 by combining them. And then you would be just getting what? 20 plus 9. So we get 29 right here. And then the denominator, just copy. And then you're finished with the problem. Okay, so that's simple. The calculus step is really usually can just be done in the first step. And yes, so it's a good idea to actually memorize this one. Let me say that again. So it's low d high minus high d low over low low, and then you can actually just get the derivative. Okay, and then the rest is really just routine calculation work. And then you have the derivative of this rational function. If you like this video, please subscribe my channel, leave me a comment, give me a like, and then also please check out my other math videos. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you next time.